Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper and the 2024 Christmas card series. Today we've got a 2-for-1, so get comfy and let's get crafty. Today I am using the Spellbinders and Simon Hurley Playful Penguins dies. I'm going to make a Christmas card and a birthday card. I will also be using the Spellbinders Hot Foil It's Everyday Sentiments 2, as well as the Simon Hurley Wonderful Winter Sentiments. Those are both hot foil plates. I've also selected the Spellbinders Essential Arches. I have an Altenew Brick Wall 3D embossing folder. I have a Spellbinders Christmas pattern paper pack. I think it's from last year. It was called A Gift for You paper pad, and a couple of coordinating card bases. So I have already done 99% of the die cutting. We are going to go ahead and start assembling our penguins. And while we assemble penguins, we're going to chat a little bit about craft room supplies. So I am going to be doing a little bit of ink blending as well. One of the things about my craft room is that I have stamps and or dies and even some pattern papers or cardstocks that I've had in my craft room for as long as I have been making cards. Most of my scrapbooking supplies have been used up or given away because I don't scrapbook much anymore. But a good portion of my card making supplies are things that are old. And I keep them. And that's kind of not normal for people making YouTube videos. Like all of the people that I watch that make cards for YouTube, they are always showing wonderful techniques and wonderful tutorials, but most of the time they're with newer product. And that's okay. That's their jam. That's how they make their living. Sometimes some of the people I watch, this is their full-time job. Some of the people, this is how they afford their craft supplies, by getting a little bit of free product or affiliate program links. I would love, don't get me wrong, I would love to have affiliate partnerships with stamp companies, if for nothing else than to make my hobby just a little bit less costly. But also I try to really purchase things that I know I can use over and over and over again, which was kind of what prompted this card video today. So these Playful Penguins dies, they are a Simon Hurley Spellbinders collaboration. I purchased them just end of September, beginning of October. Probably in September, I purchased them because I think the penguins are stinking adorable. I love the sweaters. I love the Santa hats. But they don't have to be Christmas. Like, penguins are not inherently Christmas. And they're only Christmas these are only Christmas because of their decorations. Sorry, forgot to mute my phone there. Anyway, so these penguins are Christmas themed because of the accessories that come with them, which I love. But this is a perfect example of a die set that can be used not just at Christmas time. Like, you could take off the Santa hat, take away the wreath, take off the reindeer antler, and only use the penguins and not even put any clothes on and just make them a penguin card, right? They are super adorable the way they were intended, and they will make awesome cards without adding any holiday sentimentality to them. I try to buy things in my craft room that I want to use long term. To that end, not everything that I use in my videos is still readily available. And sometimes I feel really bad about that. I feel like I feel like I'm kind of showing you something that you're not going to be able to do because that product is no longer available, right? However, 99% of what I do is not product driven. I think the only thing I've done recently that is 100% product driven are the cards I made with Queen and Company supplies. And that is because Queen and Company has this genius way of making shaped shaker card elements. I will link my Queen and Company cards down below so you can see what I'm talking about. I think their product is ingenious. But by and large, most of the cards and the art journal pages and the things that I create can be done with any of the supplies you already have in your craft room. And I enjoy that. I like watching Therese from Lost in Paper, because while she is using products that I don't necessarily have, all of her techniques are techniques that I can use with stuff I do have. I love watching Christina Warner because I want to watercolor like her. She is like my watercoloring. That's where I want to be. Unfortunately, I'm very impatient with my coloring, and watercoloring is not an impatient method. I love watching Kelly Taylor because her ability to get definition and dimension with Copic markers and alcohol markers in general is outstanding, right? Jennifer McGuire, she's just kind of like the goat, right? She can figure out awesome things to do with these wonderful products. So these are people that I watch, that I get inspiration from, but I don't usually have all of the products they have. Sometimes something I could use that for 20 different things, right? I know I could use that for a birthday card, a sympathy card, a wedding card, a holiday card, a teacher card. If I can use it for more than one occasion, it goes high on my list of things that maybe I want to add to my craft room. So the reason for this spiel is because sometimes I do feel a little bit bad that the cards I'm creating on my channel are using product that may or may not be available. So I just wanted to throw it out there that even if what I am making isn't available, you can probably find something very, very similar for starters, or do the same thing with what you have. And that is what I want to inspire. I hope that I inspire anybody watching my videos to make what you have, to make cards or product, art journals, whatever your paper crafting is. I hope you're using what you have, and I hope you're buying what you like, not just buying what is new because it's new. Because don't get me wrong, I have got to have it so bad. I purchase, still to this day, I have been making cards. Oh my gosh. I started transitioning from scrapbooking as my main craft to card making before my almost 15-year-old was born. Okay, that's a long time. And I started it because we have a huge family. I am one of 10 children. My husband is one of 7 children. We have lots of siblings and in-laws and nieces and nephews, and buying birthday cards for all those people. I literally bought the same card for the same person 2 years in a row. And I decided I can make cuter cards than what I can buy for less than what they cost. Cards were getting up to be like $3 and $4 or $5 a card, right? I had a Cricut machine. I knew I could make cute cards because I already had paper crafting supplies. I started making cards with my Cricut, and then that went to stamping, and I found I wanted sentiment stamps. I'm going to make all the images with my Cricut, and I just need sentiment stamps. Well, sentiment stamps need ink, and ink needs color coding. Things like ribbons and buttons and brads, and I could go on and on and on. But I started making cards out of a need to be creative and a need to send cards, or a desire to send cards to our family members. This past year, I have really fallen off the wagon, and probably nobody has gotten a birthday card from me in the last year. But I have a whole drawer of cards, so everybody's getting cards for next year. We're going to jump back into that, and everybody will be getting their card. But for whatever your reason is for making cards, whether it is just your creative outlet, whether it is for, like me, to send to a whole group of people, if you only make Christmas cards, if you only make back to school cards, whatever your thing is, I hope that you're buying product and using techniques that make you happy, that you get joy out of creating and watching others create. That's what I hope my videos do for you. And I hope that there's inspiration in there, but mostly I hope that you find a way to like what you're doing. Okay, spiel over. The die cuts are assembled. We are going to jump into card creating. For the Christmas card, I picked a green card base. This is the same color green that is in the wreath on the penguins. I have a piece of pattern paper, and here I've pulled in another product. This is a very old Spellbinders. It is called Labels 8. This is a very old Spellbinders die. It was one of the first dies I bought when I got my first die cutting machine a gazillion years ago. And I like the way this looks. I do intend to put some snow on the bottom. So I grabbed that same die and a piece of white cardstock and cut out a little bit of snow. And then it needed like that funky edge. This is my favorite things dynamic set. It is used for interactive cards. I can't remember the name of it. It has the old MFT label on it. That's how long it's been in my stash. So I did go ahead and make the top of that little white piece look like it had a snowbank in it. I decided it needed some zhuzhing. So I pulled out that really light powder blue that I used to ink up the sweater on the other penguin. And I added ink to all four sides of my snow panel. And that was not enough zhuzhing, just because, you know, if I'm not doing all of the things, then clearly I'm having an off day. So I went ahead with that same powder blue ink. This is a Concord and 9th ink. And I inked up the edge of this labels die. Years ago, Stampin' Up! Had one like this called the Top Note, I think. I'm pretty sure that Spellbinders still sells this, but I think the one they sell now has more than 6 dies in it even. So the background, still looking kind of plain. So then I went into my stash again, and this is a Simon Says stamp, background stamp. It's hand-lettered holiday. I think this was last year's. I am going to ink it up with some clear embossing ink. I did not intend to emboss even when I pulled out this clear ink, but because I am doing this old school and my card base is already folded in half, I'm rubbing it around and I shifted it a little bit, and the ink alone was a little bit blurry, so I pulled out my clear embossing powder. This is card making on the fly at this point. Like, I thought I had all of this planned out except for the label die, the dynamics, the snow die, this background stamp. None of this was on my original plan. This is just crafting on the fly. However, I did put that clear embossing powder on, and then I heat set it, and it made it a little less obvious that the stamping was less than perfect. But also, I'm going to be covering up 90% of it. The background just needed something. You could use a script stamp. You could use snowflakes. You could use an embossing folder. There's so many things you could do here. So I'm going to center that label. This is the second from largest label in that label die. The largest one makes one that's almost the size of a full card. I'm going to add the snow to the bottom. And the one thing that I always knew I was going to do with this card was action wobblers. It has been a hot minute since I used action wobblers on my cards, and if these penguins are not screaming, "Let me dance," I don't know what they're talking about. Action wobblers are some of the first added additions to my craft room on the interactive card bandwagon, so to speak, and that's because they are so stinking cute. So stinking cute. You add it, it's a little spring, you add it to the back of your image, you add it to the front of your card, and then you can make the little images on your card dance. And I will show you how these penguins dance. The white on the backs of the penguin heads is because the nose was inset, so I had to have some place for that nose to attach to. I didn't mention that when I was jaw-jacking about craft supplies. So now that I have both of my penguins on, we are going to just let them dance. Isn't that the dang cutest thing? Oh my gosh, I love action wobblers. They make everything so fun. Okay, for my sentiments for this holiday card, this Christmas card, I'm using the Simon Hurley Spellbinders Wonderful Winter Sentiment. This is a hot foil plate and coordinating die. And of course, I picked the one that said, "Let it snow." I love when the sentiments all come in one plate and then one die, because then it eliminates the margin of error on my part, because, you know, there's a lot of that. I also went through my stash and found some old picket fence sequins. These are called Peppermint Kisses. I am mixing my metallics here. These sequins are silver and red striped, or silver and green striped, and my sentiment is kind of a rose gold foil. It's actually the reverse of the hot foil plate. The hot foil plate would normally have put the letters in the hot foil, the metallic foil, but then I used the leftover and a flat plate, which I need to do another video on that. But yeah, so this is like the reverse. So yeah, I mixed my metallics. It's okay. It's a Christmas card. It's supposed to be all kinds of shiny. We have a green card base, so we're going to go ahead and put the white copy paper liner on the inside of the card, and the Christmas card part is done. So now, just to prove to you that you can use Christmas supplies for not Christmas things, I'm going to make a birthday card. I have a powder blue card base. I don't know whose cardstock brand this is. I honestly do not know. It's the same color blue that I used for the sweater for this penguin. The pattern paper, I just used my paper trimmer and trimmed it down to 4 by 5 1/4 inches. Both cards are US A2 size cards. That means they are 4 1/4 inch wide by 5 1/2 inches tall. And this panel is 1/4 inch smaller, giving me a margin of about 1/8 of an inch on each side. I did pull out that same gray ink that I used to ink blend the front of the penguin bellies with. And I'm just going around the edge of this. I did a little bit heavier and a little farther up on the bottom of the panel. That was mostly intentional. Now that arch, you're probably wondering what I was using that arch die set for. I'm making an igloo. I know, that's a whole nother way to use your nesting dies. I cut out this little arch with the Spellbinders Essential Arches dies, and I ran it through my die cut machine with the Altenew 3D brick wall embossing folder, and that made it look like a little igloo. For the door, I used the smallest arch in that set. I did decide the door was a little too tall. We're going to address that issue in a minute. And now it's a birthday card because there's a little gift on the bottom. I did use the same green and the same red as in the Christmas card, and that's mostly just because that's what was already on my desk. I was die cutting all the little pieces at the same time. That's what was already on my desk. So I have glued the igloo down to the card panel on my for my card, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to the front of my card. I like to turn my card sideways so that I can see 3 margins at one time and just kind of eyeball center my card panel on. And my door is a little too tall. I'm going to just grab a pair of scissors and trim some off. I did not measure. I didn't even eyeball. I just trimmed some. I thought, well, it is what it is. But it's kind of perfect. It worked out great. I'm going to go ahead and add a little liquid glue to the back of this because that white panel is embossed. So there's dimension on the paper. Liquid glue works best. And of course, I am using another action wobbler for this penguin because if you can't dance at birthdays, when can you dance? I'm just saying. We're going to put the spring on the back of our penguin, and then we're going to remove the backing paper and put him on the front of the card. And I'm just going to put him right there on the bottom right-hand corner of our igloo. And he's got his head tilting a little bit, so he's kind of totally dancing, right? And I'm just going to stick this present flat down right behind him. It just gives it a nod to a birthday card without being the thing that you see. For the sentiment on this card, after we let the penguin dance, we are going to use the Spellbinders Everyday Sentiments 2 hot foil strips, and this is also a reverse, and it just says birthday wishes. And I am just going to add it to the upper left side, kind of balancing out the penguin there. And of course, we're adding some bling to this. I have in my stash a Simon Says Stamp Winter Flurries shaker mix. This has some blue snowflakes in it. So I am going to put a couple, and by a couple, I mean, 3 or 4 or 5 little dots of glue on the front of my card. And I'm going to use my pickup stick to pick up the blue snowflakes in this sequin mix. And this is how you use something that is probably created, or most obviously created, as a holiday or Christmas card making supply for not Christmas cards. And I have to make the penguin dance again. Because of course I do. And look how cute the penguins are. I mean, come on. Come on. They're so stinking cute. They're penguins. And they're handing you presents. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. I have a couple other videos here I think you would like. I've also added that subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you did. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me how long you've been card making and paper craft. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, and have a really fabulous day.